Okay, I'm back with the Gamsol. This is what it's called. So I've seen some other people talk about, I think there's something called Zest It. But this is 100% pure odorless mineral spirits. And I got it at Hobby Lobby a while ago. It was $7.99. It's probably like $20 now, because that was a couple years ago. Oh, it's a sad, sad joke. So, let's see. What I do is I just put a little bit in a dish, in a dish with a lid. So I just have this Pyrex dish so that if I don't use all of it, I don't put it back in, you know, because it might have some pigment in it. I'll just store it like this, and it keeps forever like this, because I hadn't used it in a while and it's still just fine in here. So you don't need very much at all, so just pour out a tiny bit. Then you need paint brushes and paper towel. So I like this kind of paintbrush. These are just like cheap, I don't know, Walmart or whatever paintbrushes. And it's pretty bristly. I'm trying to find the camera. So it can help to push the pigment into the tooth of the paper. And then this one is soft, but it's very little. So I'm not gonna try and get in between each hair, because that would be insane. And it's not totally grainy in between the hairs anyway, I don't think. So I'm gonna go for right here. And then maybe use the smaller brush to get some of those bigger small areas, if that makes sense. So what I do is I see I barely have any in here, but that's fine. This is all I'm gonna need. Tap it. You barely want any on there. And then I use a paper towel to just dab it on there. As with everything in colored pencils, better to not have enough than too much. Being very careful not to get those hairs. So this time you'll notice I just skipped using the white Caran d'Ache altogether, because there wasn't really a point since we're using the Solvent. So now I'm going to use a little brush. That's probably all I feel comfortable getting with the bigger brush. And you'll notice it looks different sometimes when it's dried. Some people say the mineral spirits really bother them. I don't know. I'm not bothered by smells and things like that, really. Unless somebody has a really gross perfume on. So the cool thing about this stuff is that you can continue adding layers on top if you want to. And if you use too much liquid, you can get like a, I don't know, pooling. Like this looks a little spotty here, but I'll just go back over it. No problem. But make sure you wait till it's dry. Okay, so moving back over here. Just gonna touch up a little bit. I don't know if I have enough on my brush. This is really good for backgrounds, the mineral spirits. I did a drawing of Ross Castle. I can't remember if I used this stuff on the sky or if I burnished. I did use Prismacolor pencils. And I will say, I think those are better with the burnishing, the wax-based pencils. So I didn't have Caran d'Ache at that time. Just lost a brush here. I'm getting braver, which could be stupid. Okay. You can kind of rub it back and forth. I still think this looks silly, but maybe if we color it in, it'll look better. Okay, so I'm gonna let that dry. And then while I have the camera on this side, I'm gonna fix the margin of this here. It's too big on that side compared to the other side. I made some green tea, not coffee, because it's 3:30 and I will be up all night if I drink coffee now. Let's do my favorite beige red. And then just kind of being careful. Push it out. Looks like, I'm not remembering what I used right here, but probably cold gray. So I'll go over this beige red with cold gray to tamp it down a little bit. It's a little too pink right there. Okay, there's this. What is this? Okay, cold gray, I don't know, one or two, whichever one I can locate. I did clean up my pencils yesterday. I have one, but it needs to be sharpened. Okay. So, what the heck I was doing right there? I got like this coming down. I don't know. So I wanted to try and make this a little bit more like the reference. I guess it's not as crazy looking as I thought. Let me just grab Caput Mortem Violet. To sort of, if I darken this a little, it'll make it stand out more. And then maybe put a tint of something on there. Should probably put some of that in the right ear as well, but I'll wait a second. Okay. So I'm gonna get, what is that called? It's like salmon or something. Let's try that. Maybe put a little orange on top. Again, no idea what's going on right there. Okay, now this is crazy, so maybe watch before I do it. Sharpen it. This is, or watch me before you do it. Well, I don't know, these oranges are all so similar. I'm gonna try dark chrome yellow. And I am like barely putting it on there. But I like that. I think that's kind of cool. There's a little bit on the other side, so I'm gonna leave that out so don't forget what I used. Just gonna put some salmon inside of here too. It's like it's darker in there, and then I made it just the same all the way, which was bad. Bad me. So maybe some cool gray too. Let's see what that does. Oh, big. notice it's like a slant. This cap is probably too dark for this. That's okay. Okay. Sharpening my May green. Now this is getting into a little bit of ridiculous, but I noticed that the ear, it goes in just a tiny bit somewhere in here. So I am just gonna try, see if I can get that. I think I did. And okay. Now that we've got the background in, I can tell that, so there is some sort of shadow, probably because the sun's coming from this way. So the sun's coming through this part of the ear that doesn't have as much skin. So that's why we see that. And then these hairs are more shadowed than these hairs. So I'm just going to put some more coal gray on here. And it's like up to the edge of the ear. And it'll be a little darker in here even. And it kind of stops at the ear. And then these are white. You know, you don't have to do hard stuff. I'm going to color in these a little bit. Cody's over there rolling around, being cute. And let's get some maybe warm gray 2 and some cinnamon. I think you are number 2. Sometimes I have 2 pencils out of the same number, which is annoying. This looks like a 3. No, it says 2. Looks pretty sharp. So I'm just gonna put in some darker lines over top of what we already have here. That's pretty good. What do, little boo? Sorry, I was talking to Lakota. So I'll put some in here since I royally messed this up. Ooh. Should probably just leave it alone. You know, when you keep messing with something, sometimes it just makes it worse. Okay. So now, okay. There's hairs coming. Well, let me make sure here. There are some dark hairs. I'm going to find burnt umber. Just kind of finishing off the ears, what I'm trying to do. Like coming from here, just light. Put some darker hair in here. You know, I'm a biologist, so I know there's a difference between hair and fur, but just as, I don't know. Keep calling it hair. Just trying to give the impression of these hairs going over top. You get a sharp point, they really go over nicely. Probably need some more, what is this? Black or sepia too. Sepia. Oh, I was going to put a little cinnamon there. I forgot. Cinnamon. Probably some bee stir too on this. Okay. So if, you know, we think we're finished with this part behind, then you can lay these little hairs on top and it makes it look like it's, this part is more forward in space, if that makes sense. Okay. I think that's better. I regret that I used the caput mortuum all the way out here. I should at least put white or something underneath. It's not a huge deal. I'm gonna see if this helps any. Probably not. This is just my Caran d'Ache white. Not really. To me, in the reference, this looks more gray, and I have it just full on Caput Mortem. Okay, I'm just looking at that ear. Coal Gray 1 for the margin of the ear. Kind of like an ivory Coal Gray 1. I'm gonna kind of do in between the hairs. You probably won't be able to see it that well anyway. I don't know what that is. Okay. You can put some Coal Gray 1 if you want on some of these hairs. I don't know, I think they look kind of cool white. Maybe just a few lines on this one. I'm not sure if my shadows need to be darker in here. What I like to do is bring an image into, like I'll take a picture of it, make it black and white, and then make my reference black and white, and then compare and see if the values are okay. So I'll do that later and then see. Hello. So last we left it, we were working on the background behind the cat's ear tufts, and I at least used solvent. I don't know if you did or not. And but the solvent, well, that was like 4 or 5 days ago, so it's definitely dry. And then I'm just drawing over top of it. I'm using a chrome oxide green, trying to clean up my lines a little bit. Maybe darken some colors. Didn't have a whole bunch of layers down. I was listening to somebody and they were talking about solvent. And they said that it was a shortcut and to doing a whole bunch of layers. I don't know if it is. I think it's just a technique. You know, that's one thing that I think is so cool about color pencils is there are all these techniques. And then it's really fun to watch how different artists will use them. I think it's just a tool available if you want to use it. I don't think the person was saying it's cheating per se. You know what they say, everybody has opinions. I like it. It bothers some people not the using it, but the smell and whatnot. It doesn't bother me. some of my hairs are too thick. I'm trying. It's really hard to get them down, like a tapered end and all of that. So I'm not going to go crazy, just a little bit of refining. Might get the, I don't remember if I was using the May green or some kind of light yellow green. But I'll move down here first. Continue using this pencil. I'm still not wild about this stuff down here. I'm about to lose this one. Sometimes I nudge the camera with my glasses. I haven't figured out the best setup for my camera yet, so that it's recording but out of my view when I'm drawing. So this is that kind of bluey, blue-green. It's a dark green. It's really pretty. You probably can't see what I'm working on down here. I'll move down. So well, I guess that's okay. Sometimes when you're working with the solvent and it's a really dark color, it gets a little funky. It's kind of hard to get an even texture here. Right, I'll put a couple lines in this white piece. So I'm going to sharpen my pencil as much as I can. Probably just need a new one. I didn't realize how loud my washing machine was. Well, I sort of did when it was in the basement. You know how they make them without the agitator, and sometimes I would hear it clunking around. I kind of feel like the agitator is better. I'm not sure why they got rid of them. Because now it gets unbalanced so easy. It's not a new washer. It's probably 12 years old or something. Okay, this is what, I mean, this looks crazy right here. But maybe once we put some more color in for these tufts, it won't look so weird. I don't even want to darken right there, even though it's like that on the reference photo. Okay, it'll draw attention to those things. So I guess I'll use the May green. I don't think that's what I was using before, but that's okay. Very similar. I'm just going to fill in these lighter green areas. I think I was using earth green yellowish. Which is a tad darker. I just scribbled it on a piece of tape. So this one will be easier to use to make the strands smaller because it won't be so obvious if I mess up. Moving up. I need to sharpen it again. I like the contrast. I think it was a good call to do the background, definitely. See, when I used up in this corner, the solvent, I don't know, you can kind of see some variation up there. Just something to be aware of. Probably ought to darken that ear a little bit while we're there. So when you put your background in, it really does change, I don't know, how you might approach your values. The lights and the darks. Because now that there's this darker background here, these darker fur pieces don't show up very well. So I'm just going in with the black. And then you can, now that we've got this background in, you can put some hairs over top of the background, which will make it look a little bit more like it's not, like we didn't just cut out the kitty cat and put them on some green stuff. Okay. I'm gonna fill in some of that other with some warm gray. Get my piece of glycine paper here. Okay, I'm going back to that earth green yellowish. So I don't know if you remember, but I was having a heck of a time with this right here. So maybe I shouldn't even mess with it. Make it look worse. I don't know what I was doing over here. But I'm just going to try and thin these hairs a little bit. So it's best if you can make them thin and then taper them at the end. Okay. That's not bad. So I'm going to leave that how it is, except maybe grab a cold gray too. I'm just going to go over some of these so they're not all the same, you know, white. Push some of them back a little bit just for some depth. And you got to kind of be careful because I'm noticing that it's pushing some of the green into my white. And I think it's okay, but just be careful. Okay, I don't want to use, I'm afraid to use my paintbrush on this. So before I got started, I darkened this a little bit with Cold Gray 3, Cold Gray 4, and even like a little black right here. And then I, because mine was light, so just, you'll notice because the background's in, if you need to do any adjustments on it. And, you know, I'll probably fix these things too a little bit more. But I also added a little bit more of that purple. The purple I used was Purple Violet. All right, so I'm gonna grab the ivory, probably the flesh. Just gonna kind of finish this stuff off. Beige red. I'm going lightly on that. And then a warm one probably. Probably darken this bottom part a little bit. Warm one. I cleaned up my pencils a little bit again. So probably some, I don't want to use that. Let's do Beaster, and then we can throw some burnt ochre. So this is kind of out of focus. I don't want a huge amount of fur lines. So I'm kind of just rubbing it on here. moving in the direction of the tuft. And it's got some, I don't know, little dots in there too. I think I do burnt sienna on those. But first, burnt ochre. My burnt ochre is becoming little. I'm kind of just getting this color on there. Burnt sienna. I think burnt sienna is one of my favorite colors for animals. And then finally some, probably just use black. When you get more layers added, then as each layer is added on, you know, you want it to be darker. So you can use more pressure, darker colors. And I don't plan to go back to this ear, so I won't have to worry about, is this black gonna mix funky because I'm putting it on top. And if you're using a similar paper to mine, you could start to tell that you've got a bunch of layers on, because you feel a little bit more resistance, I think. I think for those dots, I want to use maybe the burnt sienna. There, I think that's better. I'm gonna grab Caput Mortuum. because I feel like I need some more color in here. Inside the ear. This is sort of a reddish brown too. It doesn't have as much purple in it as Caput Mortem Violet. This is Ivory. I'm gonna put some cinnamon on here. I kind of think of cinnamon as the next step after beige red. The next darkest hue. It's like kind of in the same color family. Okay. So you can see how this one is darker than this one. So moving on to this one. Okay. So when I stood up, I don't know, the next day and looked at this drawing to see if I was doing everything correctly, in the correct location and proportion, this tuft was a bit higher than the other tuft, so I went back and kind of colored around it a little bit. I can see some green here too. This part isn't really here. Of course, you know, you don't have to make it look exactly like the photo. I'll just knock it back a little bit. Might put a little bit of, that's my washing machine, Coal Gray 2 on top, just to knock it back a notch, because I was using that chromium green oxide, I think that's what it's called, which is a pretty strong one. So if you use a gray over top, you can knock back the saturation of a color a little bit. That looks better to me. Okay, so Ivory. Guess I should get my glycine paper. Now, this is where you gotta be careful because you could pull this green down, which would be bad. Gonna go with the beige red. Notice how I'm calling it the correct name today. So it's pretty crazy outside here right now. I'm in Virginia, and Canada's having a really bad wildfire season this year. And we are getting it down here, the smoke. And they say that particulate matter is really bad right now. So you're not even really supposed to be doing anything crazy outside. I walk my dogs every day. And I had my job yesterday. And I'm outside off and on at my job. And I felt it in my lungs. So I was worried about Addie being out for too long. It's not like she runs around out there. She likes to lay and watch the squirrels and such. I made her come in after a little while. Okay, then what do we do? Beaster. But I looked at the air, I don't know, there's like a government air website that I didn't know about, and my area is very bad towards DC. So I'm probably 2 hours from DC. It's really bad. It's like, what about the people that have to work outside? Like my husband, he's a farmer, he's outside today. Okay. This is a burnt ochre. So I'm not putting as much color at the top because it doesn't have that on the picture. And then we did burnt sienna. Mine needs to be sharpened, I think. Yeah, I think that looks better. Sometimes I have to make sure I'm using the pencil I want by looking at the name. I've done that before. Like put an indigo down when it's supposed to be black. Black. And put some more black in here. And then this is what I was doing before I started recording. I was just taking the black and just putting a little bit of pressure, making these blurred out shapes. Kind of just blocking in the color because it wasn't dark enough. And taking it up to where the background is to try and kind of smear it into the background better. If that makes sense. And then I can see kind of the graininess of the black, so maybe take like a cold gray 2, and then you can rub it on top and it'll get rid of the grain. So because I use the mineral spirits here, it doesn't transfer as easily because we almost, you essentially kind of turn it into a paint. So I'm just using this cold gray 2 to try and kind of blend the two so it doesn't stick out. So this isn't like a, a fine line, because in the reference it really kind of blends into the background. So moving on, I think, to clean up this ear over here. And this background. Probably clean this up in the background. This tuft. And then flip back over to the left side of the paper. I'm right-handed, so I like to go left to right, like top to bottom, left to right. Okay, thoughts. So maybe I guess I'll do the ear first and then the background. So right here, there needs to be something, more color. Probably warm gray, maybe some cinnamon. So there's tufts coming up. I mean, there's not a strong contrast right here. I've got ivory. not a strong contrast between the tufts going up and the ones going that way. So maybe what we'll do is color this one in. I'll just start with ivory because I'm holding it. And then draw some darker lines. Well, let's do some warm gray too first. So I feel like we can kind of denote that these are popping up by drawing some darker lines up here. I don't know if that was the proper use of denote. Oh, probably not. I'm not really seeing any sentiment, so I guess I won't do that. But these darker lines are like a warm gray, a darker warm gray. Maybe a 4. Oh, I'm gonna find my 4. There it is. I knew it was smaller because I use it a lot. I love the Polychromos grays and the Prismacolor grays. Prismacolor has cold grays, French grays, and warm grays, which is pretty sweet, and different percentages. No, sort of sharp. Okay, so I'm gonna be careful here. Something like that. And then I already did one here, which isn't bad. See if I can make it more solid. Okay, so then in here, it's more of a brown, maybe a nougat. It's kind of a tricky spot because you have these hairs going up here, and then behind them, the ear hairs going that way. Just putting some lines on where I see them. And then if I kind of do like a dotted line, I'm hoping it will look like there's hairs in front of it. Darkening my shadows up here. This nougat. Okay. All right, that's not too bad. So then I want some hairs going up. I already have some. Put some nougat ones though. Put some darker ones as well. That's pretty good. The pups are dreaming. I saw, I don't know, maybe it was on Instagram. And it said that Harvard did a study that said that dogs dream about their owners when they're asleep. And I thought that was really sweet. And then I was thinking, I didn't read the article, I must admit. But then I was thinking, how do they know what they dream? So I'm gonna have to look that up and see what it says. Okay. I don't know if I should use burnt sienna or black. Or not burnt sienna, I'm sorry. Maybe dark sepia. I'll use that. I don't think I used it yet today. There it is. Okay, before that, I'm just noticing that this area is, it's not really dark enough. Maybe warm gray 2. So it gets lighter when it hits the sun over here. So I'm going to leave that alone right there. I hope they have good dreams about their owners. Dogs. Okay. With my ADD, I've got my warm gray 1. I'm just kind of trying to smooth this out a little bit. Too grainy. So now I have my sharpened dark sepia. Like I started those too early or too low. Whenever I drew them, it's fine. It's easy to get lost in a cat's markings. Just darkening whatever else I think needs to be darkened. Maybe a little bit up here. Okay, that's not bad. Except I think the pink part of this ear goes in a little bit more right here. So I'm just going to color a little bit of this in with. So I have cinnamon to fill this spot in. A little bit more. And I'm just gonna darken this a little because it looks funky. Warm gray 2. Maybe a cold gray 2. I definitely have some indentations on this paper. Like scratches. I'm not quite sure how that happened, although, as I told you before, it's quite old, but it's not like, I mean, I had it stored properly in the Tupperware. Okay, kitty. Let's finish up this ear so we can move on. This is that, no, I don't want the navy. I want the other one. They're very similar. I guess it doesn't matter, but earth green yellowish. So I'm gonna kind of get rid of the grain wherever I see it, go around hairs that need to be refined a little bit more. Just going to put another layer on top of this background that we added mineral spirits to. I need to sharpen it better. It's a lot smaller of an area to fix. I was just making up these green lines here. I don't know. I don't totally go by the photograph. Oh no, the coat is licking. So the washing machine stops, but then the coda licks. He's like a kitty cat. I'm going to leave this kind of vague because I don't... Well, because of that tuft coming out there. So then I'm just going to grab the chrome oxide green and just fill this in a little bit. It's kind of grainy. Okay, I think that's pretty good. I'm gonna add a little, before doing the side tuft, I just want a little bit more color on this piece. So I'm adding cinnamon, and I'll probably add some, I don't know, ivory or warm gray 1 on top. Maybe ivory. And then double check. Just want to double check that the ear hairs look okay. We're moving on to the tuft. So I feel like there should be kind of a, you know, not a definite line, but a difference between the color of the ear hairs here and here, because the sun, you know, it's like probably somewhere up top here, and then it's shining through the back of the cat's head as evidenced by that, and then this little piece. So anyway, there's more light on the hair that's on the outside. So I still haven't, I was saying what I usually do is I'll pull it into, I'll just make them both black and white. I'll take a picture of this, make it black and white on my phone, and I have the reference photo. I'll make a copy of it black and white, and then I'll flip back and forth between the two to see what I need to fix. This was that orange that we were using on the ear on the other side. It is dark chrome yellow. I'm sorry, it's not orange. Oh, it looks orange though. Doesn't it, Addie? I'm not real wild about this one. Yeah, well. Could use some cold gray 2 to knock it back a little bit. Kind of makes it look green. Okay, moving to the tuft right here. So just the usual suspect for this part, which would be ivory, beige red, and like a warm gray, one probably. Just coloring it, not giving it burst strokes because it looks fluffy. And then it kind of changes to a cooler gray here, but then like a, I don't know, warm gray nougat thing here. Warm gray 1, perhaps. And just a little bit of cinnamon right here. I think it's from the sun coming this way that makes this look, I don't know, almost a little burnt ochre-y. So I'll just put that at the edge. I don't know what's going on right there with my paper. Well, this is pretty bluey, which is kind of odd to me. We'll just do ivory for this whole piece. And then put some sky blue over it, or cold grays. Try cold gray one. And then the nougat. Well, I guess first let's do like maybe a warm gray too. No, I said you're not supposed to blow on it. But you can. Okay, so then maybe... So I'm going to do these little squiggly motions because it looks like the fur is soft here and a little kind of, I don't know if frizzy is the right word. And this is a darker color, so I'm only putting darker bits in every now and then. Kind of like you're teasing it out a little bit. gonna take this earth green yellow and try and get sharp and clean up this. As best as I can. I guess that's better. Just kind of making it up. Hoping it makes sense. Then maybe instead of the cold gray, I'll take like a warm gray too and push some of this back. This too. It's just a neighbor hat. It's my guard pup. Okay. That's not too bad. So putting that warm gray on the edge is helpful to kind of smush it in the background. This might be crazy, but I'm going to take a little sky blue and see what happens. Super faint. That cool gray one again. And then some dark sepia. Just to finish this depth off over here. Okay, finishing this little section with some dark sepia. Okay, it looks pretty sharp. Oh, I lost my image on my iPad. There we go. Oh, just disappeared. This could probably use some black too, and I'm still not happy with. I need more here. Those my glasses hitting the camera again. I just took my dogs out and it's like, you can't even see the mountains. It's from the smoke from Canada. I mean, I don't know how far away Canada is, but it's far. It's pretty crazy. It's kind of like apocalyptic looking outside. And it smells like smoke. It smells like something's burning. So that's gotta be bad up there. We're getting this southerly, the wind, I guess, is coming from there, and it's not good because we usually get systems coming from the south, which is what gives us the rain. But we're in a drought right now. It's coming from up north, so it's very dry. And then it's got that wildfire particulate. Just makes me wonder what it must be like up there. Okay, so I think I'll just leave that like that for now, and then I can always, oops, I dropped my brush, refine that later. Got some, I don't know, weird paper issues going on there. And then I don't know what I was thinking right here. So the way that I work is I like to, I guess that's okay. I like to finish it as much as I can so that at the end, I might just have a little bit of fine tuning. I'm not really digging that. But that way, I don't know, because when I'm done with it, I'm done. I won't sit there and keep messing with it. That doesn't look good right there. So, let me fix that. Hopefully yours is fine right there. I got a little crazy with the dark sepia. So I'm just going to put some Beaster over it. And maybe a little burnt sienna and see if I can detract from what I did. I just kind of blurred it all together. Okay, we shall move from that for now because I'm just making it worse, I think. So moving on to this part over here. So let me jiggle with my camera a little bit. So this side. So my plan is to move my light so that it's helpful. Kind of do just this little bit here and then move over. Ooh, I got out of focus. Nose and then the other side. So maybe like the cheeks and the nose. So I've got some markings on this side. Clean off my eraser on my sweatpants. So this is pretty similar to the other side. We just did the fluff coming off into the green. And then the warmer gray coming into it. So I find it's easier to start with the outside layer and then add on top. So it looks like the fur is layered. I hope that made sense. In my head, I knew what I meant, but it might not have come out very well. So maybe like, so for this piece, I did the outside part first, so then I can do the black or whatever that is on top, showing the hairs on top. Okay, so it looks like we gotta do this up here too. I don't remember if I laid any pencil down there. We'll just do ivory. So be careful around your green or you'll pull it into your cat. Okay, I'm gonna, oh, that is really out of focus. Take this back. It's not as detailed. Okay. So just putting a layer of ivory down. I'm not going to touch the ivory with that green because something bad might happen. So I'm just getting close to the edge as I can. And you might as well put well, I was thinking about how far to take this ivory. We'll just work on this little piece first. I'm going to lighten these but not totally erase. Gives me a landmark for where his little cheek starts. He's a cute cat. Okay, so then I'm going to go to the cool gray one for the outer edge, but not up here. Well, yeah, sure, why not? Sharpen it a little. So with this type of paper with a medium tooth, it's easier to get the pigment in between the tooth of the paper with a sharp pencil. Just kind of creating a layer. Up here it's a little warmer, so I'm going to leave that be. So I'm not as afraid of the green with the cool gray pencil. Actually, I'm going to cover some of this anyway. There. Okay. Moving down. So I'm going to say the hardest part we have yet to do, so we've done a bulk, is the nose and the little spots. But everything else is going to be kind of soft and fluffy. And you don't have to be precise. So I find that to be more relaxing, doing stuff like that. Okay. I don't have to worry about the markings and such as much. I'll put some beige red up here, the top. A little warm gray. All right, so I think that's enough of a base on this side. So then we have to build the next layer's base, maybe a warm gray 2, and probably even some flesh. I'm sorry, beige red. I was doing so well. It's not really that much of a difference, is it? Hard to see where it changes. So you might notice if you do have pencil marks that when you put color pencil over them, sometimes you can see them more. Okay, so in a lighter area, you have to be careful to try and really get rid of them. I think I'll do cinnamon, not flesh, beige red. I give up. Just to kind of blend it, some warm gray 1. And then do some nougat, but real light. All right, so I'm gonna try and clean this up top here a little as well. Not like real wild about what I had there, but let's see if I can fix it. Maybe not with nougat. Maybe with dark sepia, but I don't like this. So now I've got my dark sepia. Just being light. All right, so, and then trying to make sure I get this part right. Okay. I'm going a little crazy with the sepia right here. So just being careful with the darker colors right here are the markings. Okay, that's okay. Okay. So, changing tactics. I think it'd be best to map out under the eye, and then that will help to make sure that whatever color changes we have going on over here are in the right spot. So I'm going to use warm gray 1 and 2 to put the base in here. So we sort of did the eye, but not totally. Like I don't have it going out everywhere it's supposed to be. So I'm going to be careful to not cover over that with anything dark. And then I'm going to grab, oh, I guess I'll just do the whole thing with warm gray 1. And sharpen it again. So make sure you are moving in the directions of the first stroke, even if it's the base. Like, I don't know if I'm making this up, but it feels like to me, you kind of train your paper to take lines in certain directions. So then when you add more layers on top, it's easier, or you can see the texture from the lines that you made below it. It's okay if I go up here with the warm gray 1 because I'm going to put some beige red or cinnamon on top of it. Super light. Okay.